Students, welcome to the subject Database Management System. Today is the third lecture. So today we shall study characteristics of the database approach. Students, you are well aware we are in the chapter 1, that is database and database users. So we'll study what are the characteristics of database approach. A number of characteristics distinguish the database approach from the traditional approach of programming with files. Students, you are well aware that earlier we used to adopt files as database storage and process the information from this file. And today we are adopting database approach. So these two approaches are different. How they are different, we'll study now. In traditional file processing, each user defines and implements the files needed for a specific application as a part of programming the application. Students, you are well versed with file processing approach. That is, last year you have done C programming, you have carried out various practicals. There you have stored all the information, and the program code in a single file. That is, in the file processing approach, each user defines and implements the files needed for specific application as a part of programming the application. Point number 3. It leads to redundancy in defining and storing data, which results in wastage storage space and in redundant efforts to maintain common data up to date. Students, storing or adopting the information in file and adopting file processing approach, you are duplicating the data, thus the storage space is wasted. Also, due to this redundancy, you have to go in for database updation of data in various files. So this is cumbersome. Point number 4. In database approach, a single repository of data is maintained, that is defined once and then is accessed by various users. So this database approach, you have got single storage of the data and that is maintained and defined once, and then various program or various user will access the data from same storage or same repository. So there is no question of redundancy, no question of wasting space. Now let us know what are the characteristics of database approach. The four main characteristics of the database approach that distinguish it from file processing approach are: 1. Self-describing nature of database system. Second, insulation between programs, data, and data abstraction. Third, support of multiple views of the data. And fourth, sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. So these are four important characteristics of database approach. We'll study them one by one. First, the self-describing nature of database system. A fundamental characteristics of the database approach is that the database system contains not only database itself but also a complete definition or description of database structure and constraints. This definition is stored in the system catalog. The system catalog contains information such as structure of each file, the type and the storage format of each data item, and various constraints on the data. The information stored in the catalog is called as metadata. and it describes structure of primary database. So students, metadata, okay, defines various data items that you adopt in a database approach. So metadata can be simply called as description of various data items, or it is data about data. Now we'll go to next characteristics: insulation between programs and data abstraction. Students, you very well know, in file processing approach, data, okay, and programs are put together in a single file, whereas in database approach, programs are written stored separately and data is stored separately. So in traditional file processing, the structure of the data files is embedded in the access programs. So any changes to the structure of file may require changing all programs that access this file, whereas DBMS access do not require changes in most cases. The structure of data files is stored in the DBMS catalog separately from the access programs. That is, in database approach, your programs are stored separately, whereas database, that is, data is stored in database, that is separately. We call this property as program data independence. That is, program are independent and data is independent. Third characteristics is support of multiple views of the data. Students, you very well know, database is a corporate resource. So all the, okay, employees of database or corporate can use this. That is, there are various types of users, and hence there are multiple views of the same data. That is, there are managers, there are supervisors, there are clerks, okay, there are engineers, there are operators, all require various kinds of data, okay. So the database is single, and whereas the requirements of various users are different, and that is why we call it as different views of the same data or multiple views of the data. A database typically has many users, each of whom may require a different perspective or view of the database. A view may be subset of the database, or it may contain virtual data that is derived from the database files but is not explicitly stored. Okay, student, there's something called as virtual data. That means you can take contents from two files and put them together. Such a representation is called as virtual data, which is not existing but which is available or which can be generated. A multi-user DBMS whose users have a variety of applications must provide facilities for defining multiple views. As there are different types of users or multiple users, you should have multiple views, and that is supported by DBMS. Fourth characteristics: sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. This is the last characteristics or important characteristics. A multi-user DBMS, as its name implies, must allow multiple users to access the database at the same time. This is essential if data for multiple applications is to be integrated and maintained in a single database. The DBMS must include concurrency control software to ensure that several users trying to update the same data do so in a controlled manner so that results of the updates are correct. Students, there are different types of users of the same database. A number of users are going to access the same data, so it should be done in controlled manner. For example, when several reservation clerks reserve a ticket in a bus or for a railway, concurrency control is adopted. That is, at a particular time, only one clerk should have access to that particular data item, and when he gives up, then other member can have access to the data item, then only it is possible to carry out reservations. So there, today we have studied four important characteristics of database approach. So these are very simple, but this is important concept. Please study well, write the PDF file in your notebook, and if you got anything, you can give me a call. Thank you.